Thank you very much for staying with us. Now let's settle down for the details of our story, starting from the labor front. And news just coming in is that the government is convening a crunch meeting with striking organized labor on their second-tier pension scheme. What we know is that all the 12 labor unions are at the meeting. The Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, Haruna Idrisu, and his deputy, that is Baba Jamal, are to facilitate the discussions. Now, the meeting, which began around 11 a.m., roughly about an hour ago, is to discuss ways to resolve the ongoing strike. It will also focus on dialoguing on how to review the clauses in the Pensions Act. So the story is that, which is just coming in, is that government is currently in a crunch meeting with striking organized labor on their second-tier pension scheme. What information we have is confirmed, and it is that the 12 labor unions, all of them, are currently in the meeting. The Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, Haruna Idrisu, and his deputy, Baba Jamal, are to facilitate the discussions. The meeting, which began around 11 a.m., is to discuss ways to resolve the ongoing strike. It will also focus on dialoguing on how to review the clauses in the Pensions Act. So those are images that we are getting from a crunch meeting that government is holding with the 12 labor unions that are currently on strike, from education to health, and they declared a strike somewhere last week, and according to them, government is refusing to pay their tier 2 pension scheme. So this meeting is to resolve that current impasse and see how they can also rectify what the law says about the labor laws and the pension scheme. So we'll keep an eye on this particular development and bring you details as and when they emerge. And we hear that the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, Haruna Idrisu, and his deputy, Baba Jamal, are all in that particular meeting. And one of our top stories is that government has withdrawn a case it sent to the Labour Commission, and we're working the lines to get further clarification on this, and also find out from a labour expert how that pans out for government. Is it mean that government now is understanding that truly these labour unions have a case with which they have gone on strike, or they just want to focus on the issue they've sent to court for interpretation of what the labor law says? Okay, we've been joined on the line by a labor law lecturer, Godwin Adawine, to speak to this issue. Mr. Adawine, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, information we have gathered is that government sent 2 cases to 2 separate institutions, one to the court for interpretation of the labor laws, and also the second one to the National Labour Commission to as a way of complaining to them to declare whether or not the strike that the labor unions are on is legal. And here we are hearing that government has gone further to withdraw the case that is sent to the Labour Commission. What do you make? What are your initial thoughts on this particular development?
Let me clarify this. The government has withdrawn its complaint lodged at the
National Labour Commission, yes.
How about the court process? Does it still maintain that one too?
Well, that we know is still in court, and as it stands now, in news we just got a few minutes ago is that government is now meeting with the labor unions. So the issue in court is for interpretation of the court issues, or the labor, what the Constitution says about the pension of labor workers in the country. The one that was sent to the Labour Commission was a way of government complaining to them and also to seek clarification whether the Labour Commission thinks that what the decision by the labor unions is legal or illegal. So that is the information we have. But government has gone on to withdraw the case is sent to the National Labour Commission. Now, we just want to find out from you, that what are your initial thoughts on it? Do you think government is beginning to understand that Labour has a genuine consent to go on strike? For which reason it will be the case?
Good. A number of things, and let's say three. One, the issue of government holding discussions with the Labour Union, as you have said. And then two, withdrawal of the complaint lodged at the Labour Commission. And three, the pending court issue. It will appear to me that the withdrawal of the complaint lodged at the Commission is to enable the discussion with the Labour Unions, which you say is ongoing now. Yeah. That is how I will interpret it for now, subject to some other facts. Then it will also appear to me that going to court may suggest that the issue at stake is an issue government thinks that the courts are better positioned to interpret and to deal with them. And if I get the situation right, it is whether or not government has the authority as an employer to determine who manages the pension fund, as opposed to the Labour Union saying that they have the right to make certain determination. Maybe the nature of the issue is what may have informed government's decision of strategy to go to court, to go to court on that particular issue. And don't also forget that it is the dispute around this particular subject that has generated the issue of the strike action. In other words, the strike action has been embarked upon in furtherance of that particular issue.
Right.
So maybe the discussion is to get the Labour unions call off the strike, get back to work, while the court determines the issue of who has the right or who doesn't have the right. These are the comments I can make for now on these developments.
Okay, but initial comments we also gathered from around is that it clearly shows that government has realized that it has no case saying that, because initially government came out to say that the strike was illegal and unlawful, and this time around it seemed to have withdrawn it from the mandatory institution, which is the Labour Commission. Could it not be that it's a way of government accepting the fact that it goofed in the initial stages?
No, that cannot be a proper and a fair interpretation of the situation. Employers and their workers have a responsibility to resolve their differences by themselves without the interference or intervention of a third party.
Right.
It is when that attempt fails that they may consider the issue of bringing in a mediator or going in for some other more authoritative institution to deal with, for example, the Labour Commission. So the fact that government has withdrawn the petition earlier or previously lodged at the Labour Commission will not be sufficient evidence that the government has acknowledged that it has no case. It may well be that government wants to exhaust the possibility of discussing the issues with its workers for now. So I do not agree that the withdrawal is a piece of evidence that government says that that's not.
Okay. All right, Godwin Adawene, we are grateful for your time, and we'll leave it here for now, and certainly come back to you to, throw some perspectives on whatever the outcome would be from the meeting. Godwin Adawene is a lecturer in labor law and was speaking to us with regards to government's decision to withdraw the case, the complaint it sent to the National Labour Commission. So we would be staying with some other labor issues, but the breaking story is that Government is currently in a crunch meeting with striking organized labor on their second-tier pension scheme. All the 12 labor unions are in the meeting, and the Minister of Employment and Labor Relations, Haruna Idrisu, and his deputy, that is Baba Jamal, are to facilitate the discussions. The meeting, which began around 11 a.m., is to discuss ways to resolve the ongoing strike, and also it will focus on dialoguing on how to review the clauses in the Pension Act. So certainly when that meeting concludes, we certainly will bring you details on TV3 News. First in news, best in entertainment. On to some other stories, but staying with labor. And a labor expert and a lawyer have described as unlawful the strike by 12 labor unions over their Tier 2 pension scheme. Now, according to them, government's suit against the labor groups is the best option, I beg your pardon, and can help resolve the issue.
Public sector workers across the country declared a strike in protest against government's decision to appoint a fund manager to manage their Tier 2 pension fund. But labor expert Austin Game disagrees with the unions on the action.
What is being done is so strange. It surprises some of us who are players in the system. That in the unlikely event that both parties cannot engage in a good faith negotiation, they look for a facilitated mediator to assist them, or go to the National Labour Commission for support. As for strike as a first step, is an old-fashioned thing.
According to the Labour Act 1, 2 and 7, workers are not supposed to embark on strike during negotiations. A lecturer in labour law, Godwin Adaganwini, explains this.
Perhaps that is so because of the mistrust, which may explain why we have jumped into a strike action without having utilized these particular structures. The law is talking about acting in good faith, creating trust, confidence. Those are key words that define the conduct or describe the conduct that employers and workers must exhibit when they have to resolve a dispute between them.
According to him, the workers' unions can decide to go back to work whilst the case is in court, but the decision will be left with the government whether to pay them their salaries or not. But in a situation where the workers' unions win the case, what will be the next action?
Even if a strike action is legal, there's a period that it must exist. That is 7 days. After that, the parties must go back for compulsory arbitration. So the legality of the strike action will not mean that it will have to continue forever and ever. It will end at some point in time.
At the moment, the action is impacting negatively on government hospitals as patients are left stranded.
So now we stay with more labor stories. Now we want to look at the impact it has started having on patients and students. So a patient, Deborah Addo, says she is regretted subscribing to the National Health Insurance Scheme due to the ongoing strike by the doctors. She said the strike has compelled her to access health care at a private hospital with her limited finances. She pleaded with government to resolve the impasse with organized labor.
Radu walked into the hospital to see a doctor.
It is a worry to me because I have registered for the National Health Insurance and now I have to spend extra money to attend the private hospital.
At the Ridge Hospital, the outpatient department was a pale shadow of itself. Disturbed patients had to take a nap on the chairs at the OPD. Others also gathered to settle their bills. At the main entrance of the Mamobi Polyclinic, the environment was virtually empty. Only security personnel and receptionists were at post during the time of our visit. The usually congested outpatient department was also empty. The hospital was only treating inpatients and emergency cases. Although some patients were disturbed about the strike, they declined to speak to the news team. Later, the news team caught up with this patient whose wife had just delivered.
You came to the hospital to do what?
Oh, to check my baby.
Has a doctor seen you?
Oh, they said they don't have time.
Why?
I don't know. They said they are on strike, so we can't force them.
So they are not taking care of you?
No. So we are going home.
Did they give another time?
No.